the most magical of all its fairy tale sites, the legend of all legends, which meant something amid Brittany's wealth of legends. Dupin had taken it for granted that Riwal and Nolwenn would be even more eager travel guides than usual on this trip and would come out with a knowledgeable commentary, and was determined to be totally calm. "We'd do best to park by the Church of the Holy Grail. That's the ideal starting point," Nolwenn said, and nodded to her left. Everything here hinted at the spectacular. The signs at the edge of the road pointed to the Church of the Holy Grail, Lake Lancelot, Merlin's Steps, the Tomb of the Giants. 7,700 hectares of forest. Riwal had undone his seatbelt and was leaning toward them. Woodland and heath, full of lakes and ponds, the proud reminder of the vast forests that back in Celtic times covered all of Brittany. It's shaped like a sleeping dragon. You can make it out from the air. The seemingly irrelevant name comes from Bros for forêt and Liande for land, the strips of heathland. But the real meaning of the words derives from the Celtic, the fortress of the other world. Riwal sat back briefly, only to lean forward again and continue more emphatically. Endless Celtic Breton legends are set here, the craziest stories from down the millennia. But the forest reached its greatest fame through King Arthur and his Round Table, and, as you know, a purely rhetorical finesse to increase their attention. Arthur is of huge importance for us Bretons. He stands for one thing in particular: resistance, one of our proudest virtues. Riwal's pathos reached a new height. The very core of our being. Resistance as in standing up for the highest of ideals, the very principles of Arthur's rule, equality, brotherhood, and kindness. It was we Bretons who believed unwaveringly in Arthur's return, who have put our unbreakable trust in him. Nobody even knows really if Arthur even existed, Caddick muttered, looking indifferently out the window. Riwal was not about to let himself be embarrassed. The legend itself and its powerful influence are unquestionably true, he said. It was a typical Riwal statement. The strength and force of his aura. Nonetheless, there's an increasing number of scientific indications that there is a real figure behind all the fantastical stories. Nolwenn joined in. And a whole host of stories about King Arthur and his world are set in this wood. The tiny village in the so-called Val Sans Retour, the Valley of No Return, at the far western edge of the wood, was called Tréorontuc. It consisted of a few solitary houses to the left and a ploughed field on the right. Dupin could already see the church and the cemetery diagonally behind it. There was no doubt that it was an enchanting little place with a lot of atmosphere. The last quarter of an hour's drive since leaving the Route Nationale had led them through the sort of landscape Dupin liked, gently hilly in all shades of green, matching fields surrounded by ancient stone walls, meadows, wild woods, winding roads, and pretty villages. A unique blend of culture and nature. Brittany's inland, the Argoat. Riwal stuck his head between the front seats again. In the first French version of Geoffrey of Monmouth's Historia Regum Britanniae from the middle of the 12th century, the forest where the adventures of Arthur's world took place was clearly located in Brittany. The author of the story of Arthur's world was Chrétien de Troyes, who lived from 1135 to 1188. He came from Champagne. Not bad. A good basis for top-class fantasy stories. Caddick seemed pleased with his joke. But Riwal continued all the more determinedly. Chrétien took the reports from the Historia, Riwal particularly emphasized the word reports, but also ancient Celtic stories, initially just the orally transmitted accounts about Arthur and his Round Table. There are 5 books by Chrétien, and for the past 2 weeks they've been lying on your desk, boss. The commissaire made a point of staring straight ahead. He had seen the fat volumes, but never lifted one of them up.